Hi, this is Brother Lewis Montgomery. I am the historian for Alpha Phi Alpha Incorporated, Kappa Phi Lambda chapter in Howard County, Maryland. I am very pleased today to interview, as part of our oral history project, Standing on the Shoulders of Giants, Brother Rick McGriff. Brother McGriff, how are you?
Well, I'm great this afternoon. And how are you, Brother Montgomery?
I'm doing very well. It's a pleasure to see you, sir. So, Brother McGriff, tell us, where are you from originally, and tell us where you grew up.
I'm originally from St. Petersburg, Florida. I grew up in St. Pete, went to what we call the education trail from the Happy Workers Kindergarten to Jordan Elementary to Gibbs High School. Then when I finished Gibbs, I went up to Florida A&M.
Okay, all right, very good, very good. I'm curious, when did you graduate from college?
I graduated from college in 1955.
Okay, that's fantastic. Were you among the first in your family to go to college?
Yes, my brother and I were the first in my family. We both went to FAM C, it was at that time. He had a basketball scholarship, and I had what they call a Lewis State scholarship.
Okay, so you obviously must have been quite a good student. So what was the Lewis State scholarship?
Well, that was the state of Florida high performing Black students, male. They were trying to encourage more to go into teaching. So if you had the Lewis scholarship, they gave one for each county in Florida. And I happen to have the one from Pinellas County, which paid the full tuition, room and board at that time was $525, and the scholarship was $500.
Okay.
So I'm able to cover most of the costs.
So your annual cost was only $500 a year at that time?
$500 a year, yes, that's right.
Gosh.
1951, yes, it was 1951.
Oh my gosh, that's pretty amazing. Well, that's great. So you went to FAMU, so you are a rattler, as they say.
Yes, I'm a rattler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
the first year I was there, was still called FAM-C.
Okay,
And
what
then
was
changed the
FAM-C?
name during that first year. It went from college to university.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, understood. Great. Okay. So what did you major in college?
I majored in chemistry and minored in math.
Okay, wow. So you didn't take the easy road in college at all. Those are some pretty challenging subjects. So what was it about chemistry and math that attracted you?
I got interested in chemistry when I was in high school. My high school chemistry teacher was Ralph James. He's also a graduate of FAM-C at that time. Mm-hmm. And so I started discussing with him, and so I got to college. So when I went up to FAM, I majored in chemistry.
Okay, that's great. So tell us, Brother McGriff, how did you become exposed to Alpha Phi Alpha, and how did you choose to become a member?
Well, when I started taking my first chemistry course, I ran into some other people who were interested in scholarship, and we did get together. And most of the people that I was actually on my line with, we had several of us who were chem majors, and the other person who was from St. Petersburg, the name was Brother Sil Shannon. He and I were pledged together. So we've known each other all our lives, literally all our lives. So we were the two St. Petersburg people on our line. Okay,
that's great. And so what chapter and what year were you made at Alpha?
I was made in 1952 at the Beta Nu chapter at the Florida A&M University, November 22nd, 1952.
That's fantastic. So if my math serves me right, you've been an Alpha for 70 years.
That's what my math says.
That is absolutely fantastic. I believe that you and Brother Ken Jennings are the senior most members in our chapter in terms of having been in the House of Alpha. So congratulations to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Yes, that's right. Ken and I were both old timers.
That's fantastic. So Tell me about some of your best memories of being a college brother.
My best memories of being a college brother, I remember we would go, usually on Saturday nights, we would go down the hill to a bar called Hoffman's Ship Ahoy, and you could get Spellman's ale for 50 cents a quart. So between all the brothers who were there, we managed to scrape together enough money to buy a few quarts of Spellman ale. So we'd sit around and talk about everything. And another good memory I had, I was the dean for 2 years at Beta Nu, and we brought in a lot of excellent brothers. So that was always a pleasure to welcome new brothers into the chapter. We used to argue about everything at the chapter meetings, but after we got through arguing, we'd all lay hands, link arms rather, sing the hymn. So we all departed as friends.
Nice.
Usually headed for a Ship Ahoy after that.
Oh, that sounds great. You mentioned that a couple of your line brothers were also chemists. How large was your line?
Yes.
Yeah. How many people were on your line with you?
There were 11 of us on my line.
Okay, that's great. That's a big line. Was that fairly? That's a pretty substantial line. Was that a normal size line at FAMU?
That would have been a normal size line at FAMU.
Okay. Okay. Great. All right. So after FAMU, tell us what you did both career wise and educationally.
Sure. After I left FAMU, I crossed the country, went to Pasadena, California, enrolled at Caltech. So I was also a chem major there, and stayed at FAM. No, we went to Caltech, and I stayed at Caltech for almost 4 years, and I was awarded a master's degree, and then I went to work for a company called Riker Laboratories.
Mm-hmm.
Worked at Riker for 2 years, and then I started. After I left Riker, I went to the University of Southern California for a year. One of the consultants at Riker was Jerome Burson, and he was looking for graduate students. So he and I had a talk. I went to work for him. I stayed at USC for a year, and then he moved to the graduate group to Wisconsin. So that's how I ended up in Wisconsin. There were 5 of us who left Southern California, moved to Cole, Wisconsin, to enroll in the graduate school there.
Okay, fantastic. And what degree did you obtain at the University of Wisconsin?
I obtained my PhD at the University of Wisconsin, also in chemistry.
That's pretty incredible. So you went from Petersburg, Florida, FAMU, to Southern California, and then ultimately on to Wisconsin. That's quite an educational journey you were on.
Yes, it was. But it wasn't the end of my geographical journey, because when I left Madison, I went down to Hercules, which is in Wilmington, Delaware.
Okay, got it. So tell us then, so after you got your PhD, where you mentioned earlier that you were thinking of teaching, at least that's maybe what the scholarship was about, but tell us after you got your PhD, what did you do career-wise?
Well, after I got my PhD, I worked for Hercules, which is research as a research chemist who was doing various products that we wanted to sell for Hercules. So I stayed there, ended up staying there for 4 years, and then I went to Xerox Xerox is in Rochester, New York. So then I went to Xerox, and I stayed at Xerox almost 30 years. Again, I was in chemistry, doing various chemistry projects for Xerox.
That's pretty incredible. So you were in the early days of Xerox, when Xerox was one of the leading companies in the copier industry.
Yes, it was. It was a leading company. In 1975, the Justice Department sued Xerox and antitrust and forced them to divest a lot of the old patents, the patents they had. So Xerox's counter strategy was to develop new technology, and we started doing things somewhat differently to avoid the wrath of the antitrust people.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Got it. So as a chemist, curious, do you have any patents?
I have 2 patents. It's from Xerox, yes.
Oh, really? Can you tell us, can you explain to us non-technical, non-chemistry folks, basically what your patents are about?
Oh, well, yeah, basically, they had to do one, the patent, the first one I got had to do with the what we call the toner. That's the black ink that you put on the paper to make images. And so I came up with a different way to, actually wasn't a different way, but I came up with the explanation for some things they were observing and was able to show the basics for basic chemistry that was involved. So I got a patent for that. And then the other patent was for the coating in a somewhat different way and using another new technology called nanoparticles. They were just starting out then. And we found a way to coat the particles that was much more durable than what they had done in the past. So those were the 2 patents that I had.
Okay, that's pretty incredible. Well, congratulations to you, sir. So so he's saying, so I'm just following you geographically. So you're in Rochester, New York, with
Yes.
with Xerox. How did you happen to come to the Columbia, Maryland area and get connected to Kappa Phi Lambda?
All right. My wife fell ill and in 2014, and she was bedridden. So we moved to this area to be close to my daughter. I have 2 daughters. One was in Nashville and one here in Columbia. So we decided to come to the DC area.
Okay.
So when I first came to Columbia, my first year, I really didn't go much beyond the assisted living place. But I met Brother Harvey Moran.
Okay.
And Brother Harold Burgess. So on my day off, sometimes I would go to some of the churches around the area, and I started going a lot to St. John. That's where they were.
Okay.
Then after my wife died, I decided to stay on in this area. We had settled up everything in Rochester, sold the house and all that.
Mhm.
So I started working while I was working, but I just got involved with local things. Of course, started going to the chapter meetings. Well, we went to the first big Alpha event I went to was a Martin Luther King breakfast.
Okay.
Went to the Martin Luther King breakfast. That was in January. And then I started doing various things with the chapter, including being the Alpha advisor at Ranch Ridge High School.
Okay, that's fantastic. So what I heard you say is you connected with 2 of our charter members of the of Kappa Phi Lambda, Brother Moran and Brother Burgess, and ultimately became part of the chapter. That's fantastic. Tell us about you mentioned that you've been an Alpha Achiever advisor at Marriott Ridge High School. So tell us how you got involved in that and what some of the things you've done there at Marriott Ridge. All
right, I had been doing some work with high schools most of my career as a volunteer. And then when I found that there was an opportunity to do so as part of the Alpha, in connection with the Alpha Achievers, I took on the advisors at Marriott Ridge, and we would meet at induction. We did projects. We worked with the students at Mount Valley, the middle school. And that's how I got into the Alpha Achievers. Okay, all right, that's fantastic. Fantastic. So it sounds like you've been able to be involved locally with Kappa Phi Lambda. You mentioned the Martin Luther King breakfast. So what are have there been any other activities that have been particularly involved in through Kappa Phi Lambda that you'd like to highlight? Well, I would highlight the national project, the Project Alpha, to that, and things like the picnic, and of course, and the chapter meetings. I should highlight those because that's where I got the chance to meet a lot of brothers. Yeah, at the absolutely meetings. Sure. Yeah, I meant to ask you when you were in Rochester.
Were you involved with the grad chapter at that time as well?
Yes, I was. That was the Ada Rho Lambda is the Rochester chapter.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Very nice. So you've been involved with you've been a member for 70 years. It sounds like you've been involved with various chapters around the country, both undergrad and graduate for many, many years.
Yes, that's correct. I was a charter member of the chapter in Pasadena, which is Ada Pi Lambda.
Okay.
When Ada Pi Lambda celebrated their 60th anniversary in California, I went out and we had several events over the weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. So you've been very involved with 4 chapters. I'm counting your undergraduate chapter, Beta Nu, I believe you said it was.
Beta Nu, yes.
Yeah, Beta Nu, and then the 3 grad chapters, including Kappa Phi Lambda.
That's correct.
That's great. Excellent. So as Brother McGriff, as you reflect on your time in the House of Alpha, 70 years, which is, again, just absolutely fantastic. What are some of your best memories of being an Alpha?
Well, my best memory of being an Alpha is shared fellowship with other Alphas. And of course, I also followed the careers of some Alphas, some older than me and some younger, and some my age. So that was a shared bond. It's interesting that the 2 people you've interviewed here already for this project were chemists, and some of the chemists that I knew even from undergraduate days were Alphas. Fred Humphreys, who was later the president of Florida A&M University.
Really?
And Walter Smith was at one time also a president of FAMU. And Carl Kirksey taught at Bowie State, and then later on he was the head of the natural science department at Bowie State. So I know those people.
That's great.
And then when I came here, I found that there were a lot of Alphas who had gone through the military and then decided to retire in the DC area. So I reacquainted myself, I should say, with a lot of those Alphas.
Oh, that's great. So it's been the fellowship of many, many years. It's so interesting, as we were talking earlier, about number of chemists that are Alpha. So that's really quite an interesting and really quite a great accomplishment. Anything else, Brother McGriff? I mean, one of the questions we like to ask is why do you feel Alpha Phi Alpha is still relevant today after its founding more than 100, almost 120 years ago in 1906? So what do you think is the relevance of Alpha Phi Alpha, and why young men are still attracted to the fraternity?
I think the most important thing about being an Alpha is the fellowship with other men. And I think that as the country has gotten more diverse, it's also got more disparate in where people work. So 70 years ago, if you were at a place like Florida A&M, you got to know a lot of Alphas who had come up some similar way, and they were there at Florida A&M. Some of them were teaching there. And now people go out into the world, so to speak. They go and they might be the only or one of the very few Black men that they see in their workaday life. And then when you come home, well, of course, you see your family, you don't know anybody else, but that's really been the biggest thing about Alpha to me, is that not only do you meet other people, but you meet other men who are ambitious, who want to do things for their community and for themselves. They want to push their way on up in life. And so that's what you find by being an Alpha, is that you are voluntarily putting yourself into contact with a lot of other men. They're African Americans, and they're proud of that. They're Alphas, they're proud of that. And so even though they might be in a work situation where they don't see very many people that look like them, when they come to the House of Alpha, they find other men who look like them, who talk like them, who are ambitious like them, and that is that's what means so much to people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I tell you, one of the things that's been wonderful for me as part of this this oral history project has been meeting brothers like you and getting to know brothers like you and learning your stories, because again, we're all beneficiaries of of those who've come before us, and we've entitled this this oral history project "Standing on the Shoulders of Giants," which is a line that that Brother Ken Jennings used in talking about the connectedness between men of Alpha, going back to our founders. So Brother McGriff, I want to thank you for your time today. I want to thank you for your 70 years of leadership and service in the House of Alpha. It's been a pleasure to get to know you, sir, and look forward to seeing you in person in the not too distant future.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure for me to sit here with you and share some reminiscing about the old days, and wonderful all the various alphas that I met in person, and then the ones, the questions I know of, we all read about. So it's been a wonderful ride.
Great. Well, thank you, sir, and look forward to seeing you in person very soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
06.
06.